Chilling footage from Wednesday's attack on the GOP congressional baseball practice that left 4 people shot, including a member of Congress, and the gunman dead. And it's time now for our Sunday group. Fox News senior political analyst Brit Hume, columnist for The Hill, Juan Williams, Julie Pace, the new Washington bureau chief for the Associated Press. Congratulations, Julie.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Deserves applause, but yes. Anyway, and Washington Examiner contributor Lisa Boothe. No, it does deserve applause. Brit, obviously nobody can directly link this attack, the actions of a deranged man, to the political climate in Washington, but why have things turned so venomous here over the years, and is there any way to stop it?
Well, what I'd say, Chris, I think that Congressman Davis had it part right and part wrong, because I think the poisonous political climate and the poisonous language with which people who disagree speak of each other is as much, and the attitudes on Capitol Hill are as much a reflection of what's in the country as they are a cause of it. And we hear people speak of each other today in Twitter, in political debate, in a way that never used to be the case. To this extent, people don't merely disagree. They think the other party, the other side, is evil and must be stopped. This is really something new. We need to keep a civil tongue in America and recognize the humanity and the decency of the other side. And what we have is the most vicious sort of name-calling, and it doesn't help when the president, who has certainly been a victim of this himself, adds to it with the force of his own rhetoric. People, you know, you got Lion Ted and Crooked Hillary and bad people, he says, are investigating him. So it all feeds, and it contributes to this climate of rage and hate of the two political viewpoints that predominate in this country. It's poison.
Well, I want to pick up on that because there was a very interesting story in the New York Times this week where there was a study that was done, and it found that people in the two political parties, I'm not talking about politicians now, I'm talking about people, voters, right. They used to basically have no use for each other. Now they hate each other. Now, I mean, it was a thermometer from 1 to 100 in your feelings, and the average now was 0. That's how ice cold their feelings are for people of the other party. And I guess the question is, how do you change it?
Well, I think you have to understand that the confirmation bias that exists in terms of media content, where do you get your information from, and are you living in a bubble? It's almost become secure in this era of the internet that people look for points of view that affirm their pre-existing prejudices. Friday was the anniversary of Lincoln's famous "A house divided against itself cannot stand" speech. I feel like we're in that moment. This is one of the most divided moments, by that measure in the New York Times you talked about, but just by living in this community that I've ever experienced in all my years in Washington. You know, the part that is so, I think, damning was spoken by Jim Mathis, the defense secretary, recently. He was asked what worries him the most. He didn't say any military enemy. He said it was the divisions among us as Americans, the failure to talk, to listen, to be able to come to compromise and some solution. He said we can't go on like this because what we fight for in the military are American principles and values, and yet those are shattered.
President Trump made several appeals this week for unity. Here was his weekly address.
Though we have our differences, what unites us is so much stronger: our love of our country, our devotion to its people. Now more than ever, these values must guide us and bring us closer together.
Julie, do they feel any responsibility in the White House? Do you hear any talk about that for this division? Obviously, it didn't start with Donald Trump, but I think, as Brit would say, a number of people would feel that he has added to it. And is there any sign that the president, for all of that talk, intends to dial back his rhetoric?
Well, I think if you look at the way the president handled the immediate aftermath of the shooting, his remarks not only there, but also in the diplomatic room just hours after this happened, it was measured, it was responsible, it was sober. And then you look at some of his tweets, and he's going back to calling Hillary Clinton Crooked Hillary. This is just part of his persona. He does not seem to believe that any of the rhetoric that we've heard from him, both during the campaign and as president, has contributed to this kind of heightened sense of tension that we have between these parties. And I don't anticipate that you're going to see a dramatic shift from him, though, again, I do think that he handled the immediate aftermath in a very responsible way.
Now, we should point out there's plenty of blame to go to both sides, because on the other side you've got that tasteless, on the left there you can see photo op by Kathy Griffin, not funny. And then you also have a production of Julius Caesar, Shakespeare in the Park in New York City, where Julius Caesar, as you can see, looks just like Donald Trump. I mean, there's plenty of hate on the left as well, isn't there, Lisa?
Yes, there absolutely is. But look, you had members of Congress who were on the field being shot at in the aftermath calling for unity. Yet when I questioned the sincerity of some on the left of also those calls for unity, you had the day after the shooting, Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, when asked if the political culture, or a course in political culture, if it was equally afflicting the left and the right, proceeded to attack Republicans going back to 1990s, calling them the sanctimonious Republicans, accusing the president. Mind you, this is the day after a known Bernie Sanders supporter with a list of Republicans to assassinate in his pocket proceeded to carry out that exact thing. This also comes on the heels of October 2016, a GOP office firebomb. February 2017, a 71-year-old staffer of Dana Rohrabacher knocked unconscious. May 2017.
I know. We can point to all those. We can also point to Gabrielle Giffords being shot, a Democratic congresswoman.
But there was no known link between the shooter and the Tea Party. Yet you even have the New York Times editorial board last week
are you really suggesting it's all on one side?
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that when posed this question by Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, the simple answer would have been yes.
Chris, these are politicians. They lead to some extent, but they also follow. And the divisions that you see play out on Capitol Hill and elsewhere in this town, at the White House as well, are a function of the sentiments of constituents. That's why, for example, you don't have any real effort to make a deal on Capitol Hill on the part of Democrats with Trump, with whom they might be able to make a deal. It's because their constituents think Trump is utterly evil and unsuited for office, and they don't want any part of him, and they don't want anybody that represents him to have any part of him. That is a reflection. The causes of that go much deeper, but it's not. The leaders can lead, and it takes a great one to lead us out of this if that's going to happen. But they also are following, and it's the broad climate in the country on both sides that is responsible for this.
All right, we have to take a break here. We'll see you all a little later.